Helpless in Seattle. That is where we're at right now, Ethan Hannaford. The Cardinals dropping the series to the Mariners here in game two, final score 5-3. And Matthew Liberatore going up against the guy that he was traded with, Randy Arozarena, who since leaving the Cardinals organization has been on to greener pastures. 27 home runs this season. First of all, general thoughts on the game and what you made of the matchup between Randy and Libby in tonight's 5-3 loss.
Well, after round one, I was feeling pretty good. I was like, all right, we got the strikeout. And all of a sudden, it's like I'm not only am I feeling optimistic about the direction of the St. Louis Cardinals, but I'm feeling really good about this trade all of a sudden. And then round two, it didn't necessarily go our way. And all of a sudden, I was I was negative about the direction of the franchise. I was negative about the trade. Everything changed in the matter of one at bat, Luke. No, in all seriousness, listen, that's what Randy Arozarena does. And, to act like the Rays didn't get themselves a guy and now the Mariners, when that trade was made, I mean, you're ignoring reality. Now, the long game, much more so, has been Matthew Liberatore, and you've been encouraged by some of the steps that he has taken this year. I really do believe that this latter stretch will end up making Matthew Liberatore a better pitcher. While, at points you could have made the argument that they should have just said, okay, we're gonna shut you down the rest of the year. There are pros to how they're going about it. I really do believe that Matthew Liberatore is going to be better as a result of having to work through this. It's the long game, though, right? It's the long game. I mean, I hate when fans, not teams, make a decision in the short term about which team wins a trade. You could say that so far they've gotten the better of the trade, but winning a trade is such a long-term thing, and it's so much more than in most situations, the single, this guy compared to this guy. So it's fun. It's a fun conversation. Randy got the best of Libby tonight, and the Mariners got the best of the Cardinals.
To your point about Matthew Liberatore becoming a better starter and growing from this adversity late in the season, you are right that this is the most amount of innings he's pitched at professional baseball at all, over 140 innings now. And the Cardinals have not let the Mariners' best players beat them. Eugenio Suarez, and Cal Raleigh are 0 for 12 in these first two games. It seems like with Libby, there comes a point somewhere in the middle innings where the command of the fastball just drops off and things avalanche from there. What did you make about his performance tonight?
Yeah, that's kind of been the story, is that in early innings, you see the version of Matthew Liberatore that you want to see, that you expect to see. And then at some point along the way, right, you see it. Sometimes it's as early as the third, sometimes it's the fourth, the fifth. But at some point, you really see that velocity dip off. And eventually, come the fatigue, the accuracy follows. And it's been an issue for a while now. And it's gotten to the point to where Ollie Marmol has basically said that they are not basing success at this point for Matthew Liberatore off of what the box score looks like, because this part isn't from them. But to me, it's an assumption that like they know that it's not going to be very ideal most of the times out because he's working through fatigue. I mean, so it's hard as a fan to look at and say, well, there were some encouraging things tonight. I thought that the first two innings looked pretty sharp. And then, I mean, it's pretty simple how the third inning went. Randy, sent one into the seats. And then the next inning, Naylor sent one into the seats. So It was fine until it wasn't. I thought that he left the ball up in the zone way too much tonight. When you're maybe you can get away with that at 96, probably not, because everyone throws hard these days, but you certainly can't get away with it at 92. And Matthew Liberatore, unfortunately, did not get away with it tonight, and the long ball got the best of him.
I'm going to make a note of this comment here that we can get back to it in the second block, but I'm going to leave it up here so you can dwell on it for about 15 seconds, Ethan. By the way, all of you tuning in for the first time, we know that a lot of our traffic comes from people who are just trolling on YouTube, or maybe Cardinal fans or baseball fans who are just, need to go to sleep because it's late, guys. What are you doing? This show is brought to you by DraftKings. Crown is yours. All the violent mood swings from Ethan Hannaford and myself. We love our sponsors. And also daily content here for Cardinals. 365 is the show. Bernie Miklasz, his show, multiple times a week, as well as Randy Carricker, his show with a gaggle of co-hosts. Really great stuff from regional and local talent and loco talent. Hi, that is better than anything out there. So I appreciate y'all tuning in here on this Tuesday night. It's about to get lit. So Matthew Liberatore falls to 7-12, and the Cardinals gave him a cushion. 2-run lead there in the top of the second. Interesting because they were able to square up right-hander George Kirby fairly early. This is a guy who tops out at 98 miles an hour on the fastball, and they were able to get some good wood on the baseball early on. Contreras, his first game back from suspension, full count, gets a two-seamer high, hits it opposite field. Then Nolan Gorman able to score him from first base. Slider, he gets off the plate, hits it, slices away from a Rosarena. That was a boneheaded play by Randy, by the way. He kind of stumbled, dived at that rather than playing it on a bounce. Perhaps they could have kept some runs off the board there. And then Sajasi, a slider below the knees, able to hit it to right center field. So I really like Ethan, and maybe I can get your thoughts on this. The Cardinals using the backside of the field early in this game against a guy who's really talented. What did you see there?
I completely agree. It is nights like this offensively, at least early, that with a very young core, that Ollie Marmol, Dusty Blake, not Dusty Blake, Brant Brown, Ollie Marmol and Brant Brown are looking at and saying, like, that's one of the positives from tonight, is that with runners in scoring position, you played baseball, right? You made baseball plays, and that was finding a way to put the ball in play. I love that from Nolan Gorman. I loved the pitch that Thomas Sajasi stayed disciplined, waited for it, and took that, like you said, that slider below the knees to right center field. That was one of my favorite swings of the night. And I like the direction in which Thomas Sajasi is trending in. I think he's starting to look more and more comfortable at the plate. And I think he's benefited a lot from Nolan Arenado going to the injured list, because he's been able to play every single day, as well as Brendan Donovan going to the injured list. So I really liked the approach. I liked the attack. They took advantage of Kirby, a guy that's struggled his last couple of times out, especially early. And unfortunately, they just weren't able to hold it. A couple of nights in a row now where the offense has been able to produce early and then hasn't been able to follow it from there. So disappointing for them to not be able to hold on to it. Also loved Fermin's at bat. Boy, was that a crazy play. I believe that was in the fourth, when the ball ricocheted off of the third base bag, and Eugenio Suarez almost made play of the week. Unfortunately, Fermin was in there safely, and the Cardinals were able to tie it. Unfortunately, they just weren't. The offense just was not able to stay in it. But if I'm Brant Brown, if I am Ollie Marmol, I'm looking at the offense tonight, and not to say you don't look at the game as a whole and say, well, this was a positive game offensively as a whole, but you look at the individual pieces and you say, we really liked that approach from you, Mr. Sajasi, you, Mr. Gorman, and how it ended up working out in a couple of those at bats for them. I think from a fan perspective, sorry, I'm kind of going off on a random tangent here. I think sometimes with a team like this, it can get really easy. And the people that in here that always give heat about us trying to find the positives and spin, You're not going to like this, but this is the reality. With a year like this, things like that you look at and you say, that's good. That's growth. Like build off of that. And you have to, that's what you just have to accept and take some nights as your positive. Overall, there's been far too many games where the offense has been quiet. But when you're able to break it up individually and you see what guys are doing, it feels like multiple guys are continuing to make adjustments, take strides in the right direction. And those are the kinds of things that you have to hold on to this year if you're a fan. Not fun always, but it's the reality.
Progress is never linear, and growth at the plate certainly can skyrocket sometimes, and then the league responds, and it's a whole thing. I want to give a shout out to our sponsors on this show. Missouri, are you ready? DraftKings Sportsbook is coming soon to the Show Me State. If you didn't know, it's America's top-rated sportsbook, and you can sign up today. New Missouri customers can get $300 in bonus bets when they launch on December 1st. Download now and place a $5 bet when DraftKings goes live. DK Sportsbook brings everything you need to elevate your game day, including live in-game betting, lightning fast payouts, and endless ways to get in on the action, all right from your phone. And when they officially go live in Missouri, you'll be betting with the Sportsbook app trusted by millions and millions of people, to quote Carl Sagan. Fast money withdrawals. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the code STL Sports to grab $300 in bonus bets with just a $5 bet when DraftKings goes live December 1st. That's code STL SPORTS in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Well, call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus, physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Excludes customers who redeem pre-launch sign-up offer. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. One other shout out to one of our new sponsors here, Cards Central Postgame, brought to you in part by the Legal Buddy app. Life happens fast. Don't we know it? If it's like this game felt like 4 hours, but it happened faster than that. 1 minute you're driving home, and then the next flashing lights are in your rear view. When trouble knocks, answer with confidence. With the Legal Buddy app, you can connect to a local attorney in seconds, whether it's a DWI, car accident, criminal charge, or traffic ticket. Download the Legal Buddy app today. LegalBuddyApp.com. Register. Use the code LEGAL to enter for a chance to win a $250 Amazon gift card. Whew. 250? Go for it. Always on your side. That's the Legal Buddy app. All right. There was something in there that caught me by surprise. We carry on. The Cardinals as well, falling 5-3 to the Mariners here out in the Pacific Northwest. Some Cards after dark. Positive story. Touched on this last night with B-Shafe. Nick Roque throws 8 pitches last night, works a scoreless inning, 7 strikes, and is tasked again with throwing another scoreless inning over 2 separate frames and rises to the occasion. Only walks 1 batter, gets his first major league strikeout, J.P. Crawford, with the sweeper tailing away from him. I thought that was really cool. That was, 19 inches of break away from Crawford. And in a season that just has slipped away. That's a good story. From your perspective, Ethan, because you've covered this team, you've been in the clubhouse, you spring training, all that. What do you make of Roque's talent set?
Yeah, I mean, first off, yes, second night where he has looked pretty good, and that's been one of the biggest pluses of 2025, or at least the latter half of 2025, is we have seen more young relief pitching continue to step up and prove that they have the ability to contribute for the future. I mean, being able to not have to worry about spending a bunch of money on the bullpen market, which is never super expensive, but it's money that can be allocated somewhere else. And we know that the Cardinals are not really in a state right now where they're spending a lot of money on the market. So you'll take any single bit that you can get. I'm not saying that Roque has necessarily proven that he's going to be a part of the 2026 bullpen, but I think it does speak in large part to what the Cardinals are doing in minor league development. And even you could go a step further and add what the additions to minor league coaching staffs, their minor league coaching staffs, has done for them this year as far as being able to consistently produce and rely on relief pitching that has been relatively consistent. So I think that's been a really encouraging sign this year. And, you hope that these guys are able to replicate it in 2026. So some good stuff there. Was there something else specifically within that you were asking about, or something specific to Raquel, or did I answer your question? Kind of got lost in the
You answered my question as I phrased it in full. That was from beginning to end, no tangents, no nothing, 10 out of 10. It's interesting because Brendan Schaefer and I did the post game last night, and we started talking about this, and all of a sudden he started talking about sun chips. There was someone in the comment section that was like, trade Jordan Walker for a bag of sun chips. And I was like, that's not good enough value back for Jordan Walker. And they were like, oh, you're dissing art and salsa. How dare you? Yeah, because I eat actual food. But to your point, I mean, fastball topping out at 92, forcing fastball for left-hander Nick Roque. The story, if you guys did not hear or did not know, was in minor league baseball, I believe in the Nat system. 2020 happens. There's no minor league season. He goes back to William and Mary, where he went to college, finishes his undergrad, then becomes a risk assessment officer or whatever it is. Works for Ernst and Young down in Tyson's Corner, Virginia, which is where I started this year. I've moved
Heyo.
since then. And yeah. So like he was working where I used to live, and now 29 years of left-hander. To your point about the minor league development system, I think it's fascinating because like Roycroft was a Division III guy. You've got a Wash U guy playing third base for the Brewers now, and Caleb Durbin, little 5'7" Caleb Durbin. So baseball is an interesting game, the way that you can move up the ranks over time. I want to go back to this comment from a few minutes ago, and if you don't want to go after this, this is just off the cuff. If because I understand that these are players with jobs, with real feelings, who play real hard, and like we cover them, you cover them in depth in the clubhouse. The philosophy going into the offseason is so weird because you could nuke the entire thing, go rebuild for the first time since the 90s, or you could try to retool, as Bernie Nicholas's latest episode says, and try to build this thing ship of Theseus style and compete in 2026. Does this question appeal to you, Ethan Hannaford?
I think that I don't know if you can. I'm trying to think of how to answer because there's so many different ways in which you could go about it. I don't know if there is one concrete way in which it has to be these three guys. They just have to find a way to clear the logjam. They have to. In fact, I think that if they are able to, it will be significant to the fact that they were able to do so in the first offseason in which John Mozeliak is no longer the president of baseball operations, because it's been several years now, at least, and you could argue, I mean, you can maybe even say like 6 of the last 7 or 5 of the last 8 or something as well. I would say that the one for sure that I think you're going to find very few people that will disagree with this is Nolan Arenado. Nolan Arenado, it's nothing against him. I love Nolan Arenado, but you look at the direction in which the Cardinals organization is going and where he is going, and it just doesn't add up. A squared plus B squared does not equal C squared in this place, in this situation. The question is going to be, are they going to be able to move him? We know the issues that they ran into in the 2025 offseason. Are they going to be able to figure it out in an offseason where arguably it's going to be even more difficult because his value's probably even less now, unfortunately, due to the lack of offensive production. So I think that Nolan Arenado is the one for sure. There's just you have JJ Weatherholt banging at the door in AAA. You have and they're even without considering him, there's already a logjam on the infield. So you have to take that into consideration. I would much rather be able to hold on to Brendan Donovan or Nolan Gorman and move on from Arenado than have to move on from both of those guys. There's just not room for everyone. So I think Nolan Arenado, in my opinion, is by far the clear cut. He's the one that makes the most sense. Are they going to be able to move him? That will be a different conversation. I think that you could make arguments for several other players beyond that point. I think you could make arguments for Lars Nootbaar, being that his ceiling compared to others, you could argue, is not nearly as high. It feels like there may just not be a spot for him, considering other guys that they seem pretty high on in the outfield. You could make an argument for Brendan Donovan, depending on how far out you feel as though you are away from being a contender again. Brendan Donovan is 28. He's going to be entering year number 2 of arbitration. In my opinion, it's extend or trade for him right now. You have to maximize on this point of his career, not knowing if it will get better. And if it didn't, I wouldn't be crazy because he was really good this year when healthy. I think you could make an argument for Nolan Gorman potentially as well if you preferred holding on to Brendan Donovan. There's a lot of different ways in which you could go. I will say that I think that Arenado is the clear-cut number 1. Several different directions you could go with the 2 and 3 in that, but it feels like those ones are separated from one is separated from everything else. What are your thoughts on this?
I agree with you. I think Arenado is the simple answer, and my addendum to that, as an armchair GM and someone who clearly knows everything about baseball, is with that no trade clause, which is going to be a cast iron mother. Don't be afraid to trade in division if it comes to that. If this is a salary dump or a move where you're just trying to get more flexibility and try to get rid of that glut that you mentioned on the left side of the infield, which it doesn't feel like a glut right now. However, there is, just with the players at stake. If you factor in Weather Holt, a healthy Mason Wynn, who was scratched tonight in favor of Thomas Sajacy with the knee pain. Sajacy, who had a good tag there on the caught stealing there in the ninth, a Rosarena getting hung out to dry. Don't shudder if he has to wear, Cubs pinstripes or Brewers, colors or something like that. I'm just making it up in the situation where there's a need in the division. People you normally wouldn't do business with. But I've alluded to this for the last couple of weeks. There's some guys that are okay, that your profile is just slightly above league average hitters. And the comments are saying this, at least in the chat. There's no really there's no big bopper. There's no Cal Raleigh. There's no threats or intimidation factor. You could say the exact same thing in terms of top of the line starting pitching. And if you go full on rebuild and you nuke this thing, the guys who have the most value, not necessarily the people that I would trade, however, the guys that you're actually going to get some substance for, would be Contreras, Donovan, and Sonny. And I'm not saying that would be my move.
Sure.
However, you're retooling this thing. Sonny Gray is going to be 36 in his contract year. I always make this joke when it's like the University of Florida has parted ways with head coach Dan Mullen. Which way are they going? And that's ultimately the clarity that we need before we really jump into decision making. I just thought it was a good question from one of our, looks like, members, like one of our premium members here on the channel. To that point, you're watching for the first time, Cards 365. We have daily Cardinals content. Bernie Miklas show, Randy Carricker with Brooke Grimsley and Matthew Rocchio, and the guy standing outside of Subway with the sunglasses on. They're always on the show. So that's cool. Final thoughts, Ethan Hannaford, as it's 5-3 the final. Cardinals losing in Seattle.
Final thoughts. I enjoy doing shows with you. You constantly entertain me. Doesn't feel like work, so I appreciate that. Thank you for entertaining me. And let's see, who do we have going tomorrow? Who's on the bump tomorrow evening for game 3?
Right-hander Michael McGreevy is coming off an outing where he was spanked by the Giants last time out. Right-hander Michael McGreevy going up against right-hander Logan Gilbert. That is an 8:40 first pitch on FanDuel Sports Network Midwest. Could be a good bounce-back outing for young Greaves.
Can we? I am cheering for a low-scoring, McGreevy goes 7 innings shutout, but so does also Gilbert does too. And then the Cardinals have at it in the last couple of innings. I got Gilbert on my fantasy team, and I'm trying to get my money back. Third place game, so give me something, please, please. I think we can take the win with McGreevy going 7 shutout. Can we all agree on that in the chat? No, on the real though, yeah, you'd like to take at least one, and then you got a weekend series with the Brew Crew where they're already their fate's already decided as to what they will be dancing in the postseason. But you could potentially I don't know, put a bad taste in their mouth against the interdivision rival. That's what I got. That's what I got for you, Luke.
Trying to salvage one game against the Mariners first. The Cardinals officially eliminated from the NL Central Division crown tonight, by the way. That's not news. It's just facts at this point. Yeah, and we'll see ya. Not entirely sure who's hosting tomorrow. It's not me. I'm getting sleep, and so is Ethan Hannaford. We're approaching midnight Central Time. Final score tonight, the Cardinals 5 and the Seattle Mariners 3. Good night. Stay safe. See you back here for Cards 365. This is STL Sports Central, presented by DraftKings. The crown is yours.